Ladies and gentlemen, gather around, because the British tabloid circus has done it again. Just when you thought the outrage machine had finally run out of fuel, just when you thought there was no possible way a newspaper could manufacture a crisis out of absolutely nothing, the Daily Mail looked at Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, sending a gift hamper to a supporter and collectively screamed, "Stop the presses!" Not because a crime had been committed, not because a scandal had erupted, not because a constitutional crisis was unfolding. No, because Meghan sent a basket. A basket. A hamper. Some products to a fan. And somehow this became international news. At this point, if Meghan sends a thank you card to a neighbor, we're probably 3 days away from headlines asking whether the greeting card poses a threat to the monarchy. The obsession is becoming performance art. And the best part? The person at the center of this ridiculous story, content creator JTB Notorious, responded with such devastating sarcasm that he practically turned the Daily Mail article into his own comedy special. Let's listen and watch JTB video.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you I have become an international incident. Daily Fail. Is this about little old me? Apparently, the Daily Fail has decided that a guy making TikToks and Instagram posts from America is now worthy of royal investigation. Me, a random content creator with a phone, opinions, and entirely too much time spent discussing royal drama between workouts and dinner reservations. According to this headline, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, sent a gift package to a superfan who has criticized William and Kate and bought her wine. I think they're talking about moi. Because if they are, I have to admit I'm thoroughly amused. Imagine being a major British tabloid and assigning reporters to track down what showed up at my front door. I thought Meghan was supposed to be irrelevant. I thought nobody cared. Yet somehow we're now treating a gift like it was the crown jewels. The funniest part of this dramatic wording? Spent hundreds of dollars on Meghan's wine. Yes, that's generally how buying wine works. You spend money and receive wine. It's just that delicious. You know, this isn't exactly a breaking scandal. It's called being a customer. Now they'll be reporting that someone who shops at Nike owns sneakers. The level of investigation is incredible. I make social media content for fun. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a politician. I'm not a royal correspondent. I'm literally a guy on the internet who talks too much and somehow ended up in a Daily Fail headline. At this point, I expect paparazzi lurking behind the cereal aisle the next time I go grocery shopping. If this is what qualifies as international news in 2026, business must be a little slow over at the Daily Fail. Getting a headline by the Daily Fail might be the most British honor I've ever received. And that's the read. If you like your tea hot, share it, save your seat, and follow for more. This is the Notorious JTB, notoriously opinionated, signing out.
And honestly, they walked right into it, because what happened here wasn't a scandal. It was a self-own, a spectacular self-own, the kind that deserves to be studied by future generations, the kind that makes people stare at a headline and ask, wait, this is what you're upset about? Because the entire article accidentally exposed something the British media desperately tries to deny. Meghan has supporters, lots of them, and that fact continues to drive certain people absolutely insane. Let's talk about it, because this story is hilarious, and the deeper you look, the funnier it gets. First, let's establish what actually happened. Meghan sent an as-ever hamper to JTB. That's it. That's the story. Roll credits, everybody go home. Normal people would look at that information and continue living their lives. But somewhere inside a newsroom, somebody apparently decided this required a full investigation. Imagine being assigned this story. Imagine sitting at your desk. Your editor walks over. You think you're about to cover politics, international affairs, economic developments, breaking news. Instead, they say, we need 12 paragraphs on a basket Meghan sent somebody. You would genuinely start questioning your career choices. You'd wonder whether journalism school prepared you for this moment. You'd ask yourself whether your parents sacrificed all those years just so you could become a professional Hamper investigator. Yet here we are. The article wasn't really about the hamper. That's what makes it so transparent. The hamper was merely the excuse. The real target was the supporter, because certain sections of the media seem unable to process a simple reality. Meghan people like, and some people like her a lot. That fact has become deeply inconvenient. For years, we've heard the same talking points. Nobody likes Meghan. Nobody supports Meghan. Nobody buys Meghan's products. Nobody watches Meghan's shows. Nobody cares about Meghan. Interesting, because every time Meghan launches something, headlines explode. Every time Meghan posts something, headlines explode. Every time Meghan speaks, somebody writes 4 opinion columns. Apparently, the most irrelevant woman in the world requires 24-hour media surveillance. Funny how that works. It's a little like claiming you hate a television show while somehow managing to watch every episode, every spin-off, every interview, every behind-the-scenes documentary, and every deleted scene. At some point, people start asking, are you sure you're not actually a fan? Because obsession and criticism can sometimes look suspiciously similar. This is where JTB's response becomes absolutely brilliant. Instead of getting angry, instead of acting offended, instead of treating the article like a devastating exposé, he laughed. And laughter is kryptonite to people trying to manufacture outrage. The moment he opened with, "Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you I have become an international incident," the game was over, because he immediately exposed the absurdity. A guy making TikToks, a guy making Instagram posts, a guy talking about royal drama online, somehow transformed into the subject of international reporting? You couldn't write satire better than this. The Daily Mail basically elevated him from content creator to geopolitical event. Then came my favorite observation: the wine. Oh, the wine. The article reportedly highlighted that he spent hundreds of dollars on Meghan's wine, and JTB's response was perfect. That's generally how buying wine works. Exactly. That's literally how commerce functions. You exchange money, you receive product, end of transaction. Imagine trying this logic elsewhere. Breaking news. A Manchester United fan purchased a Manchester United jersey. Authorities remain concerned. More at 11. Or, local woman spends money on Taylor Swift merchandise after revealing she likes Taylor Swift. Experts baffled. Investigation ongoing. Or, Nike customer discovered wearing Nike shoes. Nation stunned. People buy things from brands they like. This isn't Watergate, it's shopping. Human civilization has been doing it for several thousand years. But here's where things become really interesting. Notice what the article emphasized. Not simply that he received a gift, not simply that he bought products. It reportedly highlighted that he had criticized William and Catherine. Now ask yourself, why is that relevant? Seriously, why? Think about it. The implication seems to be that supporting Meghan while criticizing senior royals is somehow noteworthy. Except people criticize public figures every single day. Royal commentators do it. Columnists do it. Television hosts do it. Journalists do it. Entire newspapers do it. In fact, some publications have built entire business models around criticizing Harry and Meghan. Nobody treats that as shocking. Yet the moment criticism flows in the opposite direction, suddenly everybody starts clutching pearls. Funny how standards change depending on who's receiving the criticism. The deeper issue is something many Sussex supporters have pointed out for years. Certain commentators appear genuinely disturbed by the idea that Meghan has an organic support base, not manufactured, not forced, not scripted. Organic. Real people, Real audiences, real consumers, real fans, people who voluntarily spend their own money, people who voluntarily watch content, people who voluntarily defend her. That reality creates a problem, because if Meghan truly had no support, there would be nothing to investigate. No fan accounts, no content creators, no customers, no audience, no story. The very existence of articles like this disproves the narrative they're trying to sell. It's almost beautiful, like watching somebody accidentally argue against themselves in real time. And let's talk about the jealousy factor, because honestly, that's what this feels like. The reaction has strong, "why wasn't it me" energy. You can practically hear it. Meghan sends a supporter a gift. Supporter gets excited. Internet enjoys it. Tabloid immediately appears. The response feels less like journalism and more like somebody staring through a restaurant window while somebody else gets dessert. There's a level of bitterness that becomes impossible to ignore. Because normal people don't react this way to gift baskets. Normal people see a gift basket and move on. Obsessed people see a gift basket and write a dissertation. One of JTB's funniest lines was when he said he expected paparazzi behind the cereal aisle. And honestly, at this rate, don't rule it out. Imagine reaching into a grocery cart. Suddenly, a photographer jumps out. "Excuse me, sir, is that Meghan-approved granola?" Another reporter appears. "Can you confirm whether the Duchess influenced your breakfast decisions?" Third reporter. "Sources close to the oatmeal suggest tensions remain high." At this point, we're only about 3 headlines away from that becoming reality. What makes the entire situation even more ridiculous is the timing. We're living through a period of massive global events, economic challenges, political upheaval, international conflicts, technological revolutions, artificial intelligence changing industries. Yet somehow, newsroom resources are being devoted to tracking the delivery route of a gift hamper. Humanity truly is a remarkable species. We invented space travel, and then we used the internet to monitor jam deliveries. Let's be honest, the article probably helped JTB more than it hurt him. That's the funniest outcome of all. People who had never heard of him suddenly know who he is. People who never watched his content suddenly watched his response. People who never followed him suddenly became curious. The Daily Mail essentially handed him free promotion. It's the media equivalent of trying to extinguish a candle with a flamethrower. You end up creating a much bigger fire. And let's not overlook Meghan's side of this, because whether people like it or not, sending products to supporters is hardly revolutionary. Brands do it, businesses do it, celebrities do it, authors do it, musicians do it, athletes do it. Influencers do it. It's called relationship building. It's called appreciation. It's called marketing. The reason it becomes a headline when Meghan does it is because Meghan exists within a media ecosystem where ordinary actions are routinely treated as extraordinary events. If another lifestyle entrepreneur sent a gift basket to a supporter, nobody would care. The story would never exist. The fact that it becomes news only when Meghan does it tells you everything. The product isn't the story. The gift isn't the story. The supporter isn't even the story. Meghan is the story. She remains the story. And after all these years, that reality continues to frustrate the people who insist she doesn't matter. The irony is almost painful. Every article designed to prove Meghan's irrelevance ends up proving her relevance. Every attempt to minimize her influence highlights her influence. Every effort to portray her as insignificant turns into evidence that she's still commanding attention. It's a paradox the critics can't seem to escape. If she truly didn't matter, nobody would spend this much time talking about her. Period. That's not a defense. That's just common sense. The amount of attention devoted to someone is often the clearest indicator of their cultural relevance, and judging by the endless coverage, Meghan remains one of the most discussed public figures on the planet. Meanwhile, JTB handled the situation exactly the way these stories should be handled, with humor. Because humor strips away the illusion. Humor exposes ridiculousness. Humor forces people to confront how silly something looks from the outside. And once he started joking about becoming an international incident, the entire premise collapsed. Suddenly, everyone could see it. The absurdity, the disproportion, the obsession, the sheer theatricality of treating a gift basket like state intelligence. At the end of the day, this story tells us far more about the people writing it than the people featured in it. It reveals an industry still unable to move on, still unable to stop monitoring Meghan, still unable to resist turning ordinary moments into front-page drama. And perhaps most importantly, it reveals something else. Supporters exist. Customers exist. Fans exist. No amount of headlines changes that. No amount of outrage changes that. No amount of investigation changes that. The audience is still there. The interest is still there. And every time a supporter receives a gift basket and the media loses its collective mind, it simply reminds everyone of that fact. So, congratulations to JTB. Congratulations on surviving what may be the most dramatic gift hamper controversy in modern history. Congratulations on becoming an accidental international headline. And congratulations to the Daily Mail for accomplishing the impossible, turning a basket of products into a global talking point while simultaneously proving that Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, remains one of the most talked about women on earth. That's quite an achievement. Not the gift basket, the self-own. The self-own deserves an award. Because when a supporter receiving a hamper becomes breaking news, the story isn't that Meghan has fans. The story is that some people still cannot believe she does. And judging by this latest meltdown, that realization is bothering them far more than any basket ever could. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.